Hi, today we will see together how permissions work on SharePoint Online. In general, SharePoint Online is this web tool that allows us to create intranet sites, extranet sites, and generally communication portals or initiatives, processes, and various areas where people can collaborate with each other on documents, list contents, and other related functionalities such as different collaborative tools and so forth. SharePoint has a very granular level of permission management. It allows us to grant permissions at the site level, at the document library level, or at the level of an individual list, registry, or even at the level of a single document. The permission management is always the same. I can give permissions to individual users, to groups that can be created within SharePoint, or to groups that can be created within your organization, thus in Microsoft 365.
Wait a moment, I'll steal 10 seconds to introduce myself. I am one of the Microsoft most valuable professionals, and on this channel you will find tons of technical videos to keep you updated on all Microsoft 365 technologies, from SharePoint to Teams to Microsoft 365 Copilot. Subscribe then to see the new updates.
Let's move inside my demonstration site for just a brief moment so I can briefly show you the specific points where these permissions can be managed. For easily managing permissions on SharePoint Online, at the site level, we have the option to simply click on the small gear icon, which is conveniently located at the top right corner of the site, and then choose the site permissions setting. Site permissions allow me to immediately share the site with someone. In this case, I want to share it with George, and I can immediately choose his specific permission level within the intranet, ensuring that George has the appropriate access rights and can collaborate effectively on the site. The default permissions in this simplified view of SharePoint Online's permission management are read, edit, and full control, such as read, edit, and also full control. With read access, if I give read access to a person or a group of people, I have the ability to allow them to see all the content of the site, cascading from the site pages, the home page, and all the other pages, down to individual documents, such as reports and memos. If I choose Edit, I have the option to allow them to modify a page, add a new document list or a new directory, and so on, and also of course to add content such as text, images, and videos. If I choose Full Control instead, this is the highest permission for managing and overseeing the site. So a person or a group of people with full control can even grant permissions to specific users or members for this site in particular. Additionally, I have the option to choose whether or not to send an email to the person or group of people to notify them that they have been granted this access. In this case, I decide not to do so. By clicking the Add button, I assign this permission. In general, each SharePoint site is created with 3 default groups. These are specific groups of SharePoint Online. The Visitors group, who are part of the Members group, and the Owners group respectively. Individuals who visit are the people who have read access to the content on the site. Members are those who can edit the content. Owners are those who have full control, such as, clearly I have the possibility, by going into the Advanced Permissions Administration area of SharePoint, to add all the groups I want or manage all the permissions I want. Additionally, on some specific sites called hub sites, I also have the ability to configure a specific feature of SharePoint Online that allows applying the same permissions to the sites that are part of the same hub sites, such as those which are part of the same hub. The hub is simply a site collector that assigns overall permissions, site navigation, and the graphic theme to those sites. This feature is very important, such as for creating your company intranet and crucial. Having done this, I have the ability to effectively manage permissions on individual content within my SharePoint site. Within the content area of my site, I can see all of the document libraries present in my SharePoint site, and also view all lists that have been created either by me personally or collaboratively with colleagues within our shared workspace on site. To modify specific permissions for a single document library or an individual list item specifically, I simply click on these 3 dots and choose to go directly into the list configuration area. Within this area, in addition to all the functionalities, I have the option to manage the permissions of this document list, and then choose to have unique access within this particular document library that you are specifically working with. The mechanism of SharePoint Online and its permissions is a hierarchical mechanism, which means that it follows a structured and organized approach. Therefore, if I add a list or a document library within a SharePoint site, these two objects will automatically inherit the permissions from the site. If, on the other hand, I insert a folder, for example, within a document library, this folder will inherit the permissions, such as reading and writing, from the document library. If I place a single document inside the folder that I have previously created, this single document will automatically inherit the specific permissions from the parent folder that I have previously created. In this particular specific case, I entered the permissions configuration section and area of the document library, and SharePoint tells me explicitly that this particular document library inherits its permissions from the parent site. In this case, I see exactly the same permissions that I saw before with the 3 default groups present within the SharePoint site. However, I have the option to stop this inheritance of permissions by clicking on this specific button in the SharePoint Online command area. In this particular case, it tells me to be very careful because I am making the permissions of this document library unique. So be extremely cautious, because if you modify the parent site's permissions today or sometime in the future, these permissions will no longer be automatically applied to this document library. Okay, so be very careful. This is a very crucial point in managing content and permissions in SharePoint Online. We help our clients apply the correct governance of permissions ... in every SharePoint site, especially in intranet sites. In this specific case, I decide to proceed. Once I decide to proceed, I can simply start modifying the current permissions. For example, if I want to decide that the people in the visitors group should no longer view the content of this document library, I can remove users, leaving only the site owners, or I have the option to choose this second button to add .new users. Just like I did before, I can enter the individual name of the person, choose whether to share everything under this document library with them, or just share the document library itself, meaning only the access. Then, I can choose the type of access between reading, editing, full control, and 2 additional types of permissions that allow for a restricted view. This restricted view simply lets the user navigate pages they normally wouldn't have access to without seeing the content, enabling them to reach the content they do have access to. Additionally, I can select the contribution level, which only permits data entry, as opposed to the edit permission, which permits data entry, and also modifying the structure of the list, document library, or site. These permissions are available in the Advanced Permissions Management area of SharePoint at all levels: site, list, document library, folder, and individual file, for example, such as. Additionally, I have another permission called Design, which gives me specific and unique functionalities to carefully modify the structure of the object I am currently managing and overseeing permissions for. In this particular case, I specifically choose that George can indeed have the ability to edit and manage the overall structure of my document library, and I also choose not to send him an email message. By easily clicking on the share, I shared the specific site with George. In this case, I shared the document library with George. This way, we can effectively and efficiently manage permissions within SharePoint Online at any level. So site, list, document library, folder, or individual file. See you next time.